But right now, on the right shoulder, inbound at Central, stop and go from Harlem Avenue. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. Now, your official Chicagoland weather forecast. Rain tapering off this morning, leading to cloudy, breezy, and mild conditions, and a high of 62. Cloudy and 60 right now. Next news at 9. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560. The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. I wish we could be trumpeting the Bears fight song, but another creative way to suffer a loss on Sunday against the Packers. 11 in a row? What is it, like 10 and 55 in the last 65 contests against the Packers? It's unbelievable. Dave Swirsky is this this dude who's been writing these Bears parody songs.
Oh, yeah.
We played one after the Hail Mary against the Skins, or you call them the Commanders. Yes. He has one up already.
For the Packers loss?
About the faded Santos kick.
The kick's up. Green Bay, don't hurt me. Don't hurt me. Once more. What the fuck? Sometimes I think, why do I care? Favre and now love, it's just not fair. Had the win in sight, but the kick went wrong. So yeah, this is fine. The kick's up, and Green Bay, they hurt me. They hurt me once more. What the fuck? 11 losses now in a row. Down to the pack we go again. Now I don't know if the fire's loose, but 4 straight Sundays where the Bears lose. This season's done, it's sad but true. This can't go on. The kick's up, and Green Bay, they hurt me. They hurt me once more. Oh dear God, Green Bay, they hurt me. They hurt me once more. 11 losses now in a row. Down to the pack we go again. What the fuck?
Yeah, not bad.
Yeah.
Did you pick up the song?
Yeah.
The underline, the song. What's the song?
Oh God, please. The name of the song, Justin. This is where the producer's supposed to help out the
All right. What is love?
What is love? Yes.
The one-hit wonder, Hadaway. You don't remember that?
I know. I do remember that song. That was in a Will Ferrell movie, right?
What? Okay. I don't even want to go down that rabbit hole. One bad guess or lack of a guess turns to another. For more on the Bears, but other important topics, pleased to be joined by Bears great, the second leading rusher in Bears history. Of course, it's tough to be the first. Legendary running back for the Chicago Bears. He's got a new program on Sports Spectrum we want to talk about. We also want to talk about the work that Matt Forte does through his foundation in Chicago. He's a Louisiana guy, but he's staying in Chicago and doing good work here. Of course, we appreciate that. Matt Forte, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hey, how y'all doing?
Good. So tell us about the new program, Sports Spectrum. This is cool. I used to read Sports Spectrum as a kid, and I kind of went away from it, and now I want to come back since I know you're going to be on that platform. What are you doing?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a podcast platform, but as you know, since you read it when you were younger, it's basically kind of the faith-based Sports Illustrated. I mean, the last 7 years, it's not like this is news. The last 7 years, it's been picked up by an organization called PAO, which is Pro Athletes Outreach. And I do a lot of ministry work with them, with pro athletes in MLB, NHL, and the NFL. And so this platform, Jason Romano started it back in, I think, 2015 with the podcast and has been building it for a while. And I'm taking over as the main host, but Me and Jason will be working together, interviewing a lot of people at the intersection between faith and sports because now that I'm retired, I see at a whole different level that sports is only a short amount of time and that life is much, much longer. And there's a lot of great testimonies and stories that people tell that can help others out that may be feeling hopeless or down, and or they might just need some encouragement, So faith has always been a big part of my life, and it's a great platform for me to steward and be able to bring light into some dark places.
Yeah, that's excellent. It's been interesting to me. We've talked about it on our program. You have more and more athletes feeling comfortable talking about their faith. I mean, C.J. Stroud, the standout quarterback for the Texans, has talked about it and how it gives him sort of perspective on this high-profile job he has and the celebrity he has. But he keeps him centered and in proportion, properly humble. We had the story just a couple weeks ago, or last week actually, Jake Bates, the kicker for the Lions, who was in concrete sales before he got the call from the Lions, and he kicks the game-winning field goal against the Texans, ironically, and talking about his faith, too, and just the perspective. It's interesting to hear athletes talk about or people in the public eye because you hear them talk about it in the context of, remembering what's important and how stabilizing that is and centering it is for them.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in this world, especially in pro sports, it's easy to have a lot of pride because people are chanting your name.
Right.
Sometimes they're probably booing you if you're playing for the Bears. But, and then you get paid a lot of money to play a sport, to play a game. And it's essential to remember to stay humble and that all doors are open. That God is opening those. It's not that we can do these things on our own or create our own opportunities. Yes, we have to work hard and be diligent and put a lot of effort into it. But, I mean, to be honest and to be basic about it, we didn't create ourselves. I didn't give myself the talent to play football. I just had to develop it, and I was given an opportunity to do that. So, in other words, I have to, glorify God who has and be unashamed of that. And so, you do see in today's arena in football, you see prayer on the field. And it's unfortunate that in culture, people talk about prayer and about God only when things go bad. And, everything is not going to go right in life. And so it's better to get a head start on those things and understanding how the world works and how it's shaped, and that eternally we're not going to stay here. When it comes down to it, we have to go somewhere, and it's not going to be on earth. I've never seen someone on their deathbed say, take me for another ride in my fancy car, or go get the money out of the bank and throw it on. So a lot of things that we care for in this world of money, fame, and cars and clothes and all that stuff passes away. And so this stuff that we talk about on Sports Spectrum is transcended. It transcends the game, it transcends the sport, but also it transcends life here on earth.
Now, Matt Forte, who we're speaking with right now, did you have God in your life when you played for Tulane back in college?
Yeah. My grandfather is a pastor, or was a pastor for 60 years in Texas, and he passed that faith down to my father, who wasn't a pastor, but he played at Tulane as well. And I grew up going to Sunday school and going to church, and but that doesn't make me somebody who's perfect. I didn't do it all right. I had faith in my life, but I definitely wasn't living the right way. And that's part of my testimony, is that when I was growing up, that religion was just routine to me. I thought that if you go to church and you go to Sunday school, you put yourself in good environments, that, God will bless you. But that's not necessarily true. God wants a relationship with you personally, and not a routine transactional relationship or a business deal. And, it took me a while, but that's what actually separates the Christian faith between any other religion, is that God gives us grace. And it's not by our own works that we get a relationship with him. And so I had to figure that out while I lived, at Tulane in college, and then in the pros. And I can be honest with you guys, the doors and the stepping stones and the blessings that God has given me and opened those doors for me to play professional sports and beyond, I definitely didn't deserve it and wasn't living the right way. So he's so gracious that he allowed me to do that in spite of my own faults.
Yeah, it can't be transacted. So when I say, God, if you let me make this putt, I'll go to church on Sunday. That's not the right approach. What you're
No, no. I
saying.
mean, I'm pretty sure a lot of people were praying for that kick last Sunday in
Yeah,
that big seat.
exactly.
I think God is trying to teach the Bears fans and the organization something that he is not transactional.
Yeah,
Well,
right.
then, when did you realize that, to change course with your relationship with God? What was the moment that you realized, you know what, I'm doing this wrong?
It's when I really actually started to read His Word and understand that the Bible was created and written, by the inspiration of God through man, and His Word is just you have to read it for yourself. A lot of people make a lot of decisions and life altering decisions without reading the full gospel or reading the full word that has been given to you. And so, biblically, the word says that heaven and earth will pass away, but His word will remain forever. And there's also other scriptures that talk about putting on the full armor of Christ, which, if you understand that, it's because people think life is a playground until you find out when you're an adult that it's a battlefield and there's real battles to be fought out there. And so you have to put on the armor of Christ. And I always tell high school and young athletes that I would never go play a football game without a helmet or without shoulder pads. And so when you talk about life, the gospel is centered and His word is centered to put it on so that it's in you, because it's a fact that whatever's in you is going to come out. Especially, it's like we're like sponges. Whatever's in you, when you put some pressure on it, it's going to seep out. And so if we have all the negative things or the things that we're entrenched in culture that are not so good, when things get hard, that's what's going to come out. So you need the Word of God in you. So when I started really reading it for myself and then getting the understanding of what it meant, that's when the game changed. And I realized that I don't, like, faith is not what a lot of cliche things people say that, oh, it's just a bunch of rules to obey and that you can't do this and you can't do that. There's actually really freedom in Christ to do what God has called you to do and not just do what you think you should be doing. Because, if something is created, which we are, it has to have a purpose. If I created the toaster, I'm the one that can tell the toaster what it does. But if the toaster says I'm a refrigerator, that doesn't make sense, and it's not living in purpose. And it's the same thing with humanity and life. God has created everybody for a purpose and a calling, and if you're not living in that, and if you don't understand that purpose and that it comes from God, then you're not living in your purpose and what you're actually supposed to be doing, and you won't find fulfillment. I've had a lot of friends and people that I've met, athletes and not, that are millionaires and billionaires, and you would think that they have no problems because they feel self-sufficient. But at the end of the day, if they're not living out their purpose or calling, there's an unfulfillment there that only God can fill that void. And we try to fill it with all these things that the world offers but could never do. And so that's what the gospel does. It fills that void that God created in you, that's positioned for Him, and only He can fill it.
Well said. The idea of freedom comes through Christ. And nice William Perry reference working there. You mentioned the refrigerator. I wanted to, well, I mean, so what you just said dovetails perfectly with your foundation, which I like the name too. What's your Forte Foundation? I see what you did there.
Yes.
One of the things I was just looking at it, the entrepreneurial piece of it too. So, obviously the spiritual piece that you're talking about now, the faith piece, but also, and I saw summer camps and other activities, but that entrepreneurial, financial literacy, entrepreneurial. Tell us about that.
Yeah, it's a program that we like to, get the youth, because there's so many different facets of, callings and occupations and things that kids can be interested in. And sometimes, or a lot of times in underserved neighborhoods, they don't get exposed to those opportunities to understand, oh, maybe I would like to, be an entrepreneur or start my own business, or maybe I would like to be in the financial field. And regardless whether you want to or not, you need to understand finances and how that works. So we offer, and we have a lot of partners and experts like Lakeside Bank and, even Amazon and people and companies that come in and give seminars, and they also even hire some of the kids for workforce development. And everything is geared off of preventing gun violence and violence in general, any kind of violence, because they won't have a lot of idle time on their hands. And I know from being a child that when you have the old saying that idle mind is the devil's workshop, because if they don't have anything to do, they're just going to go out and just find something to do. And usually it's trouble. So what we do is actually try to help them to find their forte and what they are interested in and passionate about, and then give them a launching pad to be able to do that. And this started back in 2014 when I was here in Chicago and understood that where I am, I need to be an influence. And obviously, with there being a lot of gun violence on the south and west side, I wanted to make an impact in those areas. And I felt that the platform of NFL would give me the ability to go into a place where there's not a lot of hope and there's a lot of darkness, and shed some light by using my foundation to do that. And when I was at Tulane, that seed was planted because my freshman year, a guy named Brandon Spencer, who was a teammate of mine, who was a local New Orleans kid who was a senior, was about to change his life and his family's life and the trajectory of his family. And he was murdered, senselessly murdered by gun violence in the off season. And being at his funeral as a freshman and seeing that casket really impacted me, and understood how senseless that gun violence is, and how it can really deter an entire generation or a family. And that's what inspired me to start the foundation and to be an impact to where God had placed me here in Chicago.
Great stuff. That's great stuff. All right, we can't let you go without asking about the Bears. I'm convinced DeAndre Swift is the guy, but what about Caleb Williams?
I think Caleb is in a tough position, but I'm actually glad he's going through this tough of a time early. When it comes easy to you early on, a lot of times it's harder to figure it out, because the next year, for instance, in the NFL, it's always been said, like, talented guys can have, anybody who's really talented that play in the NFL can have a good season. But once defensive coordinators figure you out and they scheme against you, that's when you have to reinvent yourself and really show that you have a craft for the game. And he's learning a lot right now. So I just hope, my hope is that he's humble enough to not, be sad and sulk in the losing season that they're having, and that they get some things. I mean, the organization has a lot of issues, right? We got a lot of coaching issues. There's spots that need to be filled that just year after year haven't been filled. Even when I was there, we would try to draft offensive linemen in the first round, and a lot of them didn't work out. And we need to have a culture of winning, which we have not had in a long time. And so that's hard to turn that ship around and get it going. So, but for Caleb, I think he is talented enough to be the guy. I think they just need to have people put him in a position to make the right plays and to teach him everything he needs to know. Because if we're honest, college quarterbacks come in today and they're not very good at reading defenses and understanding the blitz and all kind of stuff. So it's a learning curve that has to happen when they come in, because a lot of times the colleges make it easy for them, and they run an offense that nobody runs in the NFL. So it will be difficult, it will be hard, but nothing worth it is ever easy. So with that being said, I think it's the best form. You get put into the fire early, and then you come out shining.
All right. As long as he can survive the fire and running around for his life. Matt Forte, right. He's the legendary running back for the Chicago Bears, of course, second leading rusher in Bears history. He's the new co-host of the Sports Spectrum podcast, which you get at sportsspectrum.com. And again, his foundation is whatsyourfortefoundation.org, whatsyourfortefoundation.org, doing the good work he was describing in the city of Chicago. Matt Forte, thanks so much for joining us. Pleasure to speak with you.
Yeah, thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
The stories you need to know to start your day. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Papa Nicholas Coffee, a Chicagoland tradition for over 5 generations, combines heritage and innovation in every cup. Our coffee is locally roasted, hot air roasted, and cold blended in small batches to ensure premium quality. Whether you prefer a 12-ounce bag or a 28-ounce bag, or even the convenience of K-Cups, you'll find Papa Nicholas Coffee at your local retailer. Taste the difference that 5 generations of expertise brings. Choose Papa Nicholas Coffee because great coffee is our family tradition.